When you think of iconic LEGO themes, there's probably a few that come to mind. I mean, who could forget the classic space sets of the 70s and 80s? And of course, there's LEGO's many castle factions over those early years, and even if you weren't born early enough to see them on shelves, you've still probably got a classic medieval set or two on your LEGO wishlist. I know I sure do. And then there's pirates. Compared to Space and Castle, Pirates was a relative latecomer to the game, yet it feels no less integral to the company's early years. Any LEGO kid of the 90s undoubtedly had some connection to one of the theme's dozens of ships, forts, and island outposts. I've spoken on it at length before, but what I perhaps admire most about this theme is its remarkable consistency through the years. Pirates stayed pretty true to its simple premise: treasure, forts, the occasional Imperial, and of course, lots of ships. And while I'd consider Pirates' golden age to be from 1989 to 1997, the theme popped up from time to time into the 2000s, bringing with it that same consistency that had worked so perfectly for years. Well, at least until... the year is 2004. If you're a Cheesy Studios enjoyer, you've been here with me before with the debut of Knight's Kingdom. And you may remember that 2004 was a pretty radical year for the LEGO Group. The company had just survived their brush with death and was reinventing itself. New brown, new grays, licensed themes now had realistic skin tones for their minifigures, many colors, molds, and even themes had been axed as part of LEGO's drastic cost-cutting measures. Yet amongst the carnage, a strange remnant of the much-maligned Jack Stone line was allowed to live on under the 4 Juniors branding. And it is here that we find today's lineup of sets. A collection of LEGO Pirates kits truly unlike any that had come before them or any that would come after. So strap in as we dive into this absolutely fascinating and bizarre part of LEGO's pirate history. Let's take a closer look. A huge thank you to the Big Moo Cheese for once again sponsoring this video.
Welcome to the world of LEGO Pirates!
LEGO released 10 4 Juniors pirate sets in the summer of 2004. 4 Plus 4 Juniors was basically a continuation of Jack Stone, and the sets bear a lot of similarities to the 4 Plus sets you see today. There's no stickers to be found in these, but there's still lots of huge specialized elements, many of which are just unique to a single set. The most divisive thing about 4 Juniors and Jack Stone that also differentiates it from modern 4 Plus sets is the inclusion of specialized minifigures as well. And you'll be meeting all sorts of these guys today in this video. They come pre-assembled, and because of that, that means that they just can't be customized. You get what you get. Something fascinating that I only just found out about a few days ago is that the arms of these 4 Plus figures are actually the same ones used in the earliest versions of LEGO Hagrid. You'll see the same molded fingers on these guys that are able to hold a standard LEGO bar. We'll take a closer look at the figures as we go through the individual sets, but it's worth pointing out that there's a lot of interesting features on these guys. We're looking at different hats, different colors, peg legs, hook hands. Even if they couldn't be customized, it's nice that LEGO made an effort to make them all unique and recognizable. Anyway, let's begin our journey with the smallest regularly available retail set. That's going to be 7070 Catapult Raft. It includes a whopping 22 total pieces, and you're going to continuously see very low part counts throughout all 10 sets here. Yet there are some pretty obscure elements within those 22 pieces. But let's take a look at the figure first. This guy's name is Jolly Jack Crow. It's actually fun that the theme has named all its characters that you'll see here. There definitely seems to be some callbacks to classic LEGO Pirates, especially with the hat, which was a very common headpiece for many of the regular minifigures of the 90s. What wasn't so common in LEGO Pirates though were chrome swords. These swords have come in a variety of colors, and you'll see many different colors throughout the 4 Juniors Pirates theme, and sometimes they have been given to minifigures as well, though they scale pretty poorly with minifigures. They look a lot better in the hands of these slightly taller 4 Plus figures instead. In fact, here you can see the figures side by side to get an idea of the proportions we're looking at. Everything is scaled up considerably for 4 Juniors. This chrome sword actually is only included in one other set, specifically in this color, and perhaps to no one's surprise, it's another 4 Juniors pirate set. Jolly Jack Crow's raft here is pretty unremarkable, but there's still some fun to be had with this set, mainly in the form of a giant black catapult. If you're unfamiliar with this specific recolor of that element, that's because it's quite rare. It would only be used once more in a Kingdom set, of all places, quite a few years later. It fires off a 2x2 round red brick. The raft itself is confusingly built atop an 8x8 plate with, the holes in it, which leads me to believe that if I were to put this in the bathtub, it would not float very well. I do like the texture achieved by these rounded 2x2 and 2x4 bricks though. The 2x4 rounded brick is actually quite rare, only having been included in 2 sets from 2005. One of them has been featured on this channel before, that's King's Siege Tower from Knight's Kingdom Wave 2, and then there's the Star Wars Ultimate Lightsaber Duel on Mustafar. Opposite the catapult, you'll find a rickety little flagpole there that includes some nice shade provided by a palm branch and a little place to put this light. It actually just hangs loosely on there, which, I don't know, it gives it kind of a dynamic effect, which I quite enjoy. And then there's a printed 4 Juniors pirate flag on the top, and it's nicely printed around both sides. You're getting a taste of what the elements in this theme are looking like. The smallest pieces we have here are at least 2x2s, right? But even so, there's a lot of interesting pieces to look at, and they're only going to get better as we get to the bigger sets. I do have the instructions for this set as well, but there's really not too much to show here. The set comes together in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 simple steps. That's the perk of a set with 22 pieces. And the last 2 pages are a spread featuring the rest of the main regularly available retail sets. Next up is 7071 Treasure Island. This set is going to take us a bit deeper into the world of 4 Juniors Pirates, because presumably it is here on Treasure Island that the treasure of Don Cortez is hidden, which is what 2 opposing factions of pirates are both searching for. And you see both sides here. We got red and blue are primarily how these guys are broken up. The blue pirates work under Captain Kragg, and the red pirates work under Captain Redbeard. This guy here in red is Harry Hardtack. He's got a quite nice hat, honestly, on his head. And some fun printings. I mean, all these guys have leg printing, you can't go wrong with that. He's got a cleaver attached to his necklace and then a telescope strapped to his back. He's seen here piloting a pretty standard boat from Lego. I think this thing technically can float. It doesn't have holes in it like the raft at least. And Harry Hardtack here is rowing it along by means of 2 giant black oars. Unsurprisingly, another quite rare element. Included in another pirate set we'll take a look at in a minute, and then also a rather odd inventor set called Wild Windup. The little boat has the same flag that we saw in Catapult Raft as well. Moving on to the main island, we'll meet Drake Dagger, who works for Captain Kragg. He's got the same hat, which is just recolored here in black. For some reason, the blue pirates don't like to wear shirts, so there's that. And he's got all sorts of things strapped to his bare chest, like 2 knives on the front, a hatchet, and 2 mysterious bags on the back. He's already looting the island, which is quite literally a treasure trove of rare parts. The island itself, though, is extremely basic. It's just a 16x16 brick, which is an exclusive piece in color to this set. But at the set's low price threshold, I mean, it does get the point across. And it gives you a really solid surface to build up some kind of interesting stuff, at least, like this very pre-built palm tree. I encountered one of these once before in Aztec Ancient Runes, and I hate it because Lego obviously had the super cool bendable palm tree pieces that were included in many more pirate sets over the years. But it is quite likely that attaching a bunch of those together might have been frustrating for younger builders, so you get this 3-piece specimen instead. The trunk, which is quite rare, at least in reddish brown, only being included in a 2009 pirate set, Soldier's Fort, and then Mrs. Puff's boating school from SpongeBob. The tree is capped off with a 2x2 rounded plate, and then a transparent orange spider. The transparent orange spider is relatively common, but the other two animal recolors here are definitely not. For starters, you get the unprinted red parrot, which was only included in both versions of Fort Lego Rado. And then there's the red clam, which is very much exclusive to this set, and probably is one of my favorite elements throughout 4 Juniors Pirates. The clam holds a gemstone in its mouth, but there's plenty of other treasure to be found here, including 2 trans neon orange crystals, a trans neon green crystal, and then a regular set of chrome gold coins. For being one of the smallest sets in this theme, this entry still packs quite a punch in my opinion. There's a lot to do with the boat, the landmass, the treasure, 2 figures, and all these animals, and plenty of accessories for the figures as well. Maybe this theme is starting to grow on me a little bit. Who am I kidding? You know I love this theme. Well guys, it's time to meet Captain Kragg in this next set, Captain Kragg's Pirate Boat. This set makes great use of what I guess is the Scala Belleville rowboat hull piece, here in black, and it builds a pretty substantial ship off that base. It honestly all comes together for what I think is probably the best looking set of this theme. You'll see here that Captain Kragg, like his crewmates, has decided not to wear his shirt and show off his lovely green chest hair. Interesting choice. One thing I do find quite fun about this character is that instead of a parrot on his hat, he sports a slightly more sinister looking bat. And in the 4 Juniors Pirates lore, because yes, there is like a paragraph of 4 Juniors Pirates lore, Captain Kragg is actually the brother of Captain Redbeard. As children, they came across a treasure map leading to the stash of Don Cortez. However, the brothers began fighting over the map, eventually tearing it in half, and the two went their separate ways, neither side being able to find the treasure without the complete map. Both grew up, became pirate captains, and in this theme are going head to head for one final battle over the other half of the map. It's all kind of goofy, but I guess it makes me want a Captain Kragg regular minifigure to go alongside Redbeard. That'd be kind of cool. And don't worry, 2 sets later on do include each unique half of the map. And speaking of that, do you know what else is worth fighting with your siblings over? You guessed it, Big Moo cheese. Longtime revisiting fans are more than likely familiar with Cheesy Studios' favorite cheese sponsor, the Big Moo. The Big Moo cheese is delicious, handcrafted, award-winning baked cheese that comes from the heart of Cheeseland, my good old home state. Sorry for those of you who wanted to show up my house though, because I don't live there anymore. But boy, do I still love cheese. And with 5 fantastic flavors to choose from. Wait a second, is that a new flavor? This is Harvest Cranberry, made with a blend of real cranberries and the warm essence of cinnamon and fresh Wisconsin cream line milk. It's a pretty epic addition to the savory lineup of other flavors the Big Moo cheese has. The Big Moo's cheese is quick and easy to prepare. You just take it out of the package, heat and eat. No nonsense here, and no matter whether you grill it, bake it, or fry it, you are going to love it. The cheese tastes great on its own, but you can just as easily use it to enhance your favorite meal. Audrey and I literally chopped up a block and threw it on a pizza, because if there's one thing that makes pizza even better, it's more cheese. And the beauty of all of this is that by eating cheese, you can support Cheesy Studios. Use the code CHEESY10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. If you do end up ordering, let me know what you think. And better yet, let me know if you end up trying any of the recipes. I'm always looking for new suggestions, because even though I spend, half of my week playing with toys, I am an adult, and unfortunately that means I need to cook for myself. So I'll take any help I can get. Anyway, back to talking about toys. So yeah, I am rather fond of this ship design. Again, not a lot of pieces that go into this, but they're used very effectively. The instructions actually have you attach this little balcony at the back, which provides some extra room on the vessel, which I think is really smart. There's a place to put his sword, and then room for a treasure chest as well, which gives you another set of 4 chrome gold coins. definitely the smallest elements to be included in the 4+ line. The sail itself is really cool too, bearing the colors of Captain Kragg, and it's made of that same material that most of the capes of this era were. On the front of the ship, instead of a mermaid, you get a red scorpion, which is one of the set's rarer elements. It's only included in 3 other sets that you should be familiar with if you've seen other revisiting videos here. We got a ton of these red scorpions in Vladik's Dark Fortress, once again from Knight's Kingdom, but this element also shows up in 2005's rescue from the Mer People from the Triwizard Tournament, and then we'll be seeing it one more time yet again today in another pirate set. Yeah, there's no crazy play features with this one or anything. It's kind of a case of simple done well. I really love the use of this big boat hull to build a whole ship on top of it. Great stuff. I do have the instruction booklet for this one as well, but there's really nothing interesting to point out except, again, you know, that back spread of pages, which has slightly larger images of the entire lineup of sets. 7073 Pirate Dock is a bit embarrassingly the only set I wasn't actually able to complete for this video. The completed set includes a paper map which you can place underneath the set. And at least at the time of recording this, there is only one available in the world and it's ripped, so I wasn't too excited to pay however much money to acquire that. So hopefully these pictures will suffice. And on top of that too, this set just has a ton of other rare elements. And don't worry, we'll get to those in a sec. We've got the return of Drake Dagger yet again from Team Kragg, and then we also get Captain Redbeard for the first time. This is the 4 Juniors take on the most iconic LEGO Pirates character. And love him or hate him, there's definitely some cool things going on here. I really do like the hat. It's the same as Captain Kragg's, just recolored in black, and you've got a medium green parrot on top of it, which is really cool. He's wielding a dark bluish gray sword, and he's got nice printing all over the place, even down on the peg leg there. I do think it's funny to note the terrible print quality of the white specifically. I guess it's just worth pointing out that LEGO has always been terrible about their opacity. That is not a new development. If anything, I like to think that most figures these days at least have a little bit better white coloration than this guy. I do like the fancy shiny gold printing though. It makes him feel like, I don't know, the captain. He's cursed, obviously, but I think given the limitations of the medium, they did a pretty good job. So Pirate Dock really serves as a land-based headquarters for Team Redbeard. And you can tell that definitively because there's red everywhere, right? Well, there's also a huge big flag. And the stylings too, I should put these side by side, of the flags for Kragg and Redbeard are ever so slightly different. Each is their own fun take on the classic skull and crossbones. We do get another one of the small boats here, again with 2 black oars. You get a prison cell, super simple, very easy to escape, attached by a green vine of all things. But this is where you could lock up Captain Kragg and his cronies should you capture them out on the high seas. And then we actually have some fun things going on in the actual dock itself, the best of which, by far, is the trans green jug. This does come in a few other sets if I'm not mistaken, but definitely such a cool color. This piece was originally introduced with Fabuland, but it scales very well with these figures too. And we'll be seeing another even rarer recolor before the end of today's video. But I love this piece. I made a big effort early in my YouTube career to collect all of the colors. So this was a piece I already had when I was parting this together. Worked out fantastically. There's a crane over here for loading the small boat, or if you have the larger pirate ship, you could probably use it to load that too. I think you have enough clearance to probably get over the sides there. You'll see at the top there's this ornately detailed skull piece. This did show up a few times in themes outside of Jackstone Pirates. In white at least it's fairly uncommon though, having only appeared in one other 4 Juniors pirate set, and then the 2005 Graveyard Duel from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I remember seeing at least a few of these in Indiana Jones sets in dark bluish gray too. It ends up making for a really nice piece. There's a lot of detail packed in there, but I don't think it feels un-Lego-like to the extent that some of the other pieces in this theme do. The dock is constructed out of a lot of parts that were very common for the 4 Junior sets. You're seeing again the giant 16x16 brick base plates, and also these 2x2x I don't even know, what is that? 8 2x2x7 or 8 tall beams that just really brought these structures together quite quickly. You can see too that there's actually a bar located between the studs of all these elements. It just again helps these sets hold together, eliminate frustration, but it does make for an eyesore if they're not covered. In the back you get a black ship mast. That's a pretty uncommon recolor there. It's been included in a number of pretty unusual sets. It's going to be Aero Nomad from Orient Expedition, Pharaoh's Forbidden Runes from the first wave of Adventurer sets, and then a football set called Light Poles, one of many just kind of stadium expansion sets released as part of that line. There's some really, really interesting ones. I mentioned earlier that I am missing the map that goes underneath this, but I'm actually short another piece for this set too. And that's the 1x12 green brick, a surprisingly uncommon element yet again. The only other set you'd be able to find that specific recolor in is yet another football set. That's going to be Free Kick Frenzy. It's definitely a part that they could easily reintroduce at any time, but it's just never happened. But yeah, the red beam up here, this color is exclusive. The brown supports are exclusive to this set. The 16x16 base plate only comes in one other set that we'll be taking a look at very soon. Rare pieces just all over the place. But the one that really surprised me and is well worth taking a closer look at is this 1x2 hinge brick. At first glance, you, like me, might be mistaken into thinking this is just another common element, one that you've probably seen before and even own. But there's a critical difference in this specific design that makes this really unique and actually quite useful. The hinge sections are rotated 90 degrees between each other. Typically, these will all align, yet in this specific element allows you to quickly change direction, and it ends up just being an easier solution once again for a quick building experience. When originally parting these sets together, I skipped over it completely on Bricklink because once again I thought it was just a piece I had hundreds of. But it turns out, yeah, this piece will probably set you back $1 or $2 or maybe even more, and I'm sure it's more often than not just simply misidentified and uploaded to Bricklink wrong. It only comes in these two sets. I don't think people realize it exists. But now you, my dear viewer, are amongst the educated few. Taking a step back from the weird piece rabbit hole that I'm so sorry that I like to go down way too much, and looking at this set as a whole, I mean, it's kind of a big just Christmassy mess. But there are fun things going on here. You've got some extra weapons, swords for everybody. You've got the opposing factions here. You can play out some battles. Oh, there's a monkey here too. Reddish-brown monkey, which isn't terribly common. The crane is fun, and with that specialized piece, it kind of eliminates some unnecessary joints. It's easy to use. Yeah, it's a perfectly fine little playset. To me, the value of these things really just always comes down to the parts. I think that's the most interesting thing about them. So I hope you'll forgive me if I continue to yak about them. One of the coolest things about this set in particular, though, is that this is the first instance in the instruction booklet that you're going to see alternate builds. Recall that we are working with a mere 61 pieces total here, so the fact that compelling alternate builds are even possible at all is absurdly impressive. The first build puts a bit more emphasis on the small rowboat, going as far as to kit it out with the crane arm at the front. The ridiculous sword holder there does make me chuckle. The second build isn't as pretty, but it is a bit more functional. It creates a small crane meant for loading up the rowboat with supplies. So Redbeard gets a base, and that also means that Captain Kragg gets a base, and that's going to be at Skull Island. We're seeing a few familiar faces here. Captain Kragg, of course, and I think that's our third Drake Dagger already. And then we get a new person from Team Redbeard, and that's going to be Cannonball Jimmy, taking on the whole fort by himself. What a brave lad. This set can also be placed atop a playmat. This time around, I do have it. It's actually in new condition, which is really exciting. It's nothing too crazy, but if you take the set off, you can actually see that they've given you very specific locations to place the 3 separate modules included here. And all put together, it looks pretty nice. It helps you just imagine this world a little bit more. Clearly, these sets are not very detailed, so it's nice to round out some of these edges with some of the artwork, and it just makes these settings a little bit more believable. For kids especially, I think it's just a very cheap and easy solution to add a lot more fun to these packages. It's here in this set too that we get the first half of the iconic treasure map. It's printed atop one of those modified 4x4 tiles with the 4 studs on one side. So yeah, it's a little bit big, ugly, and obnoxious, but it gets the point across, you know. But there are some good looking things on this set. I do really love this sail up here. It's one of the largest in the series. And this torn outline just looks really, really nice, really unique compared to all the other sails, which are probably, in my opinion, just overly clean and comical. This one feels a bit more believable, something that would be a little bit easier to implement into a mock, I think. The other very fun element here, of course, is the skull piece from which Skull Island gets its name. That is just one singular mold, and the teeth is just one of those modified 1x4 profile bricks in white. The only other time that specific element would show up is in a Bikini Bottom set from LEGO SpongeBob. And I'm guessing a few of you might actually recognize it from there. Beneath that is another fun element, go figure. That's actually 2 spider webs in black, which are exclusive to this set. You've got another transparent neon orange spider there, along with some other animals too. Another red scorpion, like we mentioned earlier, and a red snake. And then perhaps most notably, you get one of the iconic crocodile molds. Great stuff. This is perhaps the most interesting of the new pieces to look at here. This is a cannon housing for the competition-style spring-loaded shooters. You're probably more used to the minifigure scaled version of these, but this is actually pretty clever to make use of the existing launchers, save a lot of R&D on that, and just make this new reddish-brown housing for them. It would be easy enough to attach wheels to these too. As you can see, there's even little indentations to allow for that. You've got the clips on the sides, just like the classic minifigure scale ones. It's a pretty sweet design. We'll see another one on Redbeard's pirate ship as well. There is a small little raft side build, nothing too noteworthy here, but I suppose everybody's got to have their little tiny vessels. Kragg's fleet has felt a little outnumbered up until this point, so even that helps out just a little bit. I do have to highlight just a few more of the fun parts included in this set, like the 4x12 black brick. It is quite rare, having only been included in the 2005 LEGO City Police Station, and also the Bionicle system-based set, Race for the Mask of Life. The blue beam you see running across here is exclusive to this set. The blue railings, both the 1x4 and the curved 4x4, are exclusive recolors to Skull Island. And then last but not least, these dark bluish gray supports back here, also an exclusive recolor. It's just crazy. They're just printing out whatever they needed to make these sets happen. I do have a beautiful brand new instruction manual for this one, which is very exciting because we do have some alternate builds in this one as well. And I think these are pretty cool. I love how you can turn the whole thing into a pretty convincing boat for the team. Since the only other seaworthy vessel that they have of any substantial size is going to be Captain Kragg's pirate boat, this could be a nice upgrade to that, honestly. Something a little more worthy of taking on Captain Redbeard's pirate ship. And this next build is actually pretty fun and clever too. It reads to me almost as a trap room from which to acquire the treasure. You can see the map is actually at the end there, but you have to survive all these tasks to get to it. Very Indiana Jones vibes. Great uses of the very limited parts available for both those alt builds. Love to see it. So before we get to Redbeard's pirate ship, we've got to talk about the 4 smallest sets of the wave. 3 of these sets were called character packs, and these were actually boxed sets. For their price though, honestly, it came with some pretty cool parts though. We're gonna start out with Scurvy Dog and Crocodile, which, as the name suggests, comes with Scurvy Dog and a crocodile. Scurvy Dog is actually a new character here. He also will show up in Redbeard's pirate ship. His blue tank top here definitely puts him on Team Kragg. His 2 accessories, a black sword and a white cup, are both pretty uncommon. But easily the highlight here is the very much exclusive transparent red jug. It's the same design that we saw earlier with Pirate Doc in trans green, but this one here is very special. This is it. This is the only set this recolor ever showed up in. And it was definitely the hardest jug to add to my collection. It is fun to note that the crocodile can actually hold it in its mouth too. That's fantastic stuff. The next character pack is Harry Hardtack and Monkey. This one, because of the smaller animal, does have a few extra pieces to make into this, well, still pretty small side build. It's basically just a flag and a plant on a base plate. But that flag gives something for the monkey to climb up, and I think what's great about this set is that the monkey seems to have stolen both a sword and a gem from the pirates, and now the two must duke it out to determine who will win the treasure once and for all. These character backs are pretty great, so much bang for your buck. All the pieces are interesting, great stuff. The last character pack is Cannonball, Jimmy, and Shark, and it really just comes with, again, a handful of parts here, but they're all pretty fantastic. You're looking at a white shark here, which I'm guessing is probably the last appearance of that particular recolor. You have a chest, which is empty, but you can put the single crystal in there if you'd like, and then you also get a light bluish gray sword for Jimmy. The theme also did give some lucky fans a single polybag. The polybag doesn't even have an official name, but Brickset lovingly refers to it as Captain Kragg in Barrel. And yes, that is very much what's going on here, but this set has a bit more than meets the eye. So this specific polybag saw a very limited release, and it's quite uncommon. It was basically the kids' meal toy at Legoland Germany with lunch orders. But that doesn't stop it from having one of the coolest elements in 4 Junior's Pirates, and that's the barrel. This particular element is basically just a massive version of the far more common 2x2 barrel, which you've seen throughout a few of these sets. This time it takes up a 4x4 footprint and can pretty effectively fit a minifigure inside. And it really scales well to these figures. This particular color though, black, is exclusive to that polybag. Yes, the kids' meal toy from a specific Legoland park has an exclusive element. Go figure. So even though this polybag ended up being something of a freebie, it's still going to be a very hard element to find. There are 22 European listings on Bricklink, but prices range from about $2 to $36. It's definitely one you're going to have to pay a pretty penny for, especially if you live outside of Europe. Oh, but it was well worth the investment though to show you this glorious little set. Honestly, for all 4 pieces that it is, I think it works pretty well. It's a very believable situation here for Captain Kragg. Even beyond the small sets though, there were a number of gear items associated with LEGO 4 Junior's Pirates. That included a whole board game, a buildable clock, an eye patch, a telescope, and then one of my favorites is a picture frame. And I looked far and wide for this, but I could not find one. But it looks like it's something of a cutout base plate perhaps? Very interesting looking set. I imagine that was sold primarily at Legoland parks. 4 Junior's Pirates and Legoland parks are actually pretty closely connected. Kind of like what we talked about with the polybag giveaway. The one piece of merch I actually have is from a childhood visit to Legoland in California, where my mom has hung on to and reused this little gift bag ever since we must have bought something in the gift shop there. But you can see that is undeniably the gang. While they probably don't give away these little gift bags today, they probably got something a little more modern, there are still some remnants of the 4 Junior's legacy at specific Legoland parks. A Google search of Legoland Pirates will bring up an image of one of their water attractions, which is very clearly made from the hull pieces of Captain Redbeard's pirate ship. The inspiration is unmistakable. No other LEGO pirate ship looks quite like that one. Seeing that honestly made me smile so much. If you've been to a Legoland park recently or plan on going soon, let me know if you see any lingering 4 Junior's artifacts hanging around. I think that would be absolutely fascinating to document. And finally, we've got to talk about the big one, 7075, Captain Redbeard's pirate ship. For the ridiculously small number of elements included in this set, the size is truly impressive. And that is thanks mostly to 3 very large hull sections which make up this ship, and very interestingly, should make it able to float. If you've been hanging around the channel for a while, you might actually recognize these hull pieces, as 2 of them were repurposed back in 2005 for the Harry Potter Durmstrang ship of all things. And funnily enough, the Durmstrang ship really didn't even come close to floating, so it was kind of a laughable use of those elements, and it does make me wonder how well this thing will fare. Alright gang, moment of truth. Let's see if the floating ship actually floats. Wow! Oh, dang! Okay, that's actually pretty good. So there's actually a version of this ship too that came with a motor you could attach on the underside, and then it would go on its own. So this is the motor that I have. The one that comes with the actual variant of Redbeard ship is slightly different colors. I believe it's yellow and red, if I'm not mistaken, but they work exactly the same. So there's no on and off switch. There's simply a battery inside of there, and once you screw it together tightly enough, it activates. Just like that. So if we lift up the ship here, there should be a spot to connect this. It looks like it's right here up front. There you go. Let's drop it in and see what happens. Hey, would you look at that? If you had this in a big pool or something, you could make it spin in circles, and that'd be pretty sweet. Thanks to a lot, and I mean a lot, of very specialized pieces, the ship does end up looking pretty respectable. And these pieces are really just massive. You're looking at this front section of the ship done up here in reddish brown. That is just a single element with that rare white skull tacked onto the front. These side sections here through which you can fire the cannonballs, these are all, again, pre-built pieces. Truly bizarre to see them on their own, but once you bring them into the ship, they fit really well into the existing shaping, and they do fill up a lot of volume very, very quickly. There are 3 sails in this set. Each is unique and printed. They look pretty nice, though the rigging they're set on is pretty rigid, and it makes for some weird shaping in the sails. Technically, you can angle these. The rigging does get in the way a little bit, but you could add a little bit more of a dynamic look to the shaping of the sails, which is fun. You've got another crane in this ship, which uses that same really interesting 1x2 hinge piece to give you that 2-directional motion. Great stuff to see. You have very limited cargo to move around though. Just this little barrel here with the red topper. There's nothing in it. Very sad. There is a treasure chest on the deck of the ship though that does have some gemstones and also the regular set of 4 chrome gold coins. You can also remove these 2 8x8 plates from the floor, and honestly I think the best use for that would be maybe to store the treasure, but also could be just a dungeon for Scurvy Dog as well if you don't want to make him walk the plank. There's nothing going on really beneath this upper deck. It's not easy to remove, but yes, once again, this huge brown brick here is just a really specially shaped, unique, and exclusive brick to this set. You can see too these 4x4 flaps where you could get more cannons. I wish there was more cannons included in the set. It is unfortunately just the one. Around the back, you'll probably see one of the most weird and un-Lego-like looking pieces. It kind of resembles a skull. It's got some weird connections, 2x2 studs on the back. The whole inside is tiled off, but you got some pinholes here. Truly bizarre element. Just takes up a really weird footprint, but again, it kind of matches with the aesthetic of the rest of the ship. It does work, so it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. And oh yeah, the 1x4 red bars here, exclusive recolor. The curved ones up top, exclusive recolor. You'll see some flags up there as well. The same flags that we saw in earlier sets. The large one from Pirate Dock and a small one from the various other vessels they had. And this set includes the other half of the map. Whereas Skull Island's map showed your anchor point, this actually does have the X leading to the treasure of Don Cortez. And do the maps line up? You know what? They kinda do. They kinda do. That's not half bad. I'll take that. I think that makes for a believable route to the treasure. Like the other larger models that we've taken a look at, there are alternate builds for this set. Both are just different takes on basically smaller versions of this ship. And once again, they look pretty cool. I might actually go ahead and build these. So I did end up making one of the alternate builds. This is the one on the bottom half of the page, and this is pretty cool. So you take out the middle section of the ship for both alternate builds to give you a smaller, more detailed, I guess, ship. And this just had some really crazy and creative uses of the parts available, especially the crane's rope, using it as actual rigging for the ship. You get such an interesting look here. But it does look like a pirate ship still, just a completely different vibe than the other one. Here's what it looks like around the back, making use again of that very weird element, but it fits right into place there, like it was designed to do so. You can see too, the alternate build does use those 2 Technic pinholes we pointed out earlier, actually. Makes me wonder if they were designed specifically with the alternate build in mind, or there was something that was cut from the A model's design. Who knows? But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Now, don't worry, I'm not gonna sit here and try to defend 4 Junior's Pirates as like the best pirate sub-theme that ever was. It's definitely not. All the same though, I think it's worth celebrating the successes of this theme and realizing that it did bring some cool innovations to the table. I really like the idea of 2 well-defined pirate factions fighting it out against each other. In regular minifigure scale pirates, that usually was pirates versus Imperials, but there's a fun dynamic to be found here with the brothers trying to regain control of the map, even if the premise is pretty cheesy. There's the clear color differences, with Kragg's team being blue and Redbeard's team being red, but there's even some stylistic things you can pick up on too. The bat in the hat versus the parrot, the difference in costume, Kragg and his cronies preferred no shirts on. There's something interesting there, and I would like to see that explored with a minifigure scale line of sets. The really small, really affordable, play-packed character packs are a huge win for me as well. We get something similar, I guess, for Ninjago, but imagine something like that for Dreams, where you get one of the characters, an animal, and just a small side build for $5. I think that'd be fantastic. I really love, too, the emphasis on boats that float. That is something that LEGO has stepped away from completely, but it used to be a lot more common. A lot of the World City, even some of the early LEGO City set boats would float. And a lot of the Old Town stuff did too. It was awesome. As a kid, I always would love to bring LEGO into the bathtub or into the pool. It's a great time, and I think LEGO really underestimates the value of that. Not all of the elements in these sets are winners. I mean, we took a look at some of the truly insane specialized 4 Juniors parts, but the sets also gave us some really cool recolors, whether that be in the swords, my favorite jugs, of course, and then all the animals as well. The red clam, the different colors of parrots, stuff like that is really fantastic. And I'm never gonna say no to more sales. We can never have enough of those. Unironically, obtaining these sets has kind of been something of a dream come true. As a parts nerd, there's just so much to love about these, so much fascinating history from a really interesting era at the LEGO Group. Having these in person really has convinced me of their merits. And I hope I've been able to win you over to their side a little bit too. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to the Big Moo Cheese for once again sponsoring this video. Be sure to check them out and get yourself some cheese up ahead of the holiday season here. I'm sure you will not regret it. Maybe don't fight with your siblings over it though. I hope you have yourself a fantastic life, and I will see you next time.